Welcome to a fashion doll shoes tutorial.
I'll continue with the mold I made with the mold making clay. And I have baked these pieces, so now I'm going to cut this in half, and you can see here that the clay isn't quite against the master here inside the clay, but it doesn't matter. This is the bottom of the heel, so you can always cut away the excess when making the pieces. But now we'll see how well this works. And the knife, I had to replace the blade. Somehow the plastic cover, it got so stuck that I couldn't get it off, and I thought that fighting with it would be too risky, so I just replaced the blade, and now I can use this again. I can feel I'm cutting the plaster in here. It doesn't matter. Let's see. Yeah, it looks like it's coming. Oh, it's a bit more here, right? Yeah. I managed to cut to the plaster. Let's see if I can use this to remove the plaster pieces from the mold. Yeah, that's quite easy. So that was easy, and now I can try to make heels using this mold, and then we'll see how it works. I'm hoping that it'll work better with a bigger piece, because it'll be easier to fix anything that goes wrong, like if the seam remains visible, it'll be easier to even that in the pieces I make using this mold, but we'll see. Anyway, making the mold, that works. I will just need to see if the mold itself will work. I've got here another one. I mean, I was thinking there's no point wondering what would happen if I put a painted piece inside that mold making clay. I put a painted piece in there and it's baked, and now I'm just going to cut it and see what happens. The piece inside here is made of soft wood, so I'm cutting it in half. You can see it's a wedge sole for a very small doll. And then we'll see if I can remove halves from this mold, and that looks, yeah, it's breaking. Oh, yes, trying to get the edges separated. Now I can get it out. It's stuck that's the first problem. Yeah. The paint is stuck on the clay. And with the paint, some pieces of the wood, and as I try to remove that paint, I can see that there's a tear here, so the surface won't be very good even if this becomes a usable mold, which I very much doubt. Yeah, it breaks. Okay, I guess this proves the point. Don't use painted masters with the mold making clay. It doesn't work. I wonder what would happen if I used a wooden master. Just sand it really carefully. It could be that if the wood was hard enough, it would be possible to remove the master. But in this case the wood is soft and it breaks and it stucks and the mold tears like here. So, well, at least that's tried and proven that it doesn't work. For the last bit of this video, I'm going to test that heel mold, and as it's for Miss Peggy, I'm going to use this pink sort of marble patterned clay, and this is the softer one. I'm trying this to see if it's easier to fill the mold using this softer clay. Because when it's softer, it may be that you don't need to press as hard to get it in the mold. And one thing I'm a bit worried about is this part here, the deepest part of the mold. There's always the problem of air pockets, and in the silicone molds you just make small holes to let the air out. But with this kind of molds, I'm not sure if it would be a good idea. But it's possible. I mean, you could make tiny hole here, and then when you fill the mold, when the clay starts coming out of the hole, at least you know that the mold is certainly full. That's what I do with the cardstock molds I use for modeling clay, but that's a subject for another video. So let's just try and see what happens. This opening is a bit small. I think I need something to push way in. Can't fit my finger in there. Now it's not in. It's hard to keep the two halves of the mold together just right. They seem to be slipping all the time. I'm not sure how to keep them together. I've been thinking about all sorts of solutions, like pushing pins here through these pieces near the edge, so that the two halves can't slip like they're doing here right now. And I was thinking that one solution could be that you create sort of bumps here and then use those for pushing a needle through. So those will keep the halves together, and you can be sure that you're not pushing the needle into this hollow part in the mold. And all this is really too much trouble for making just heels for the shoes, but it's more about me being curious and wanting to see what can and cannot be done. And so some of these things I probably won't use again, some of the methods, but I just want to check how they work and if it is worth trouble. Now it looks like it could be okay, so let's try removing. Well, that looks fairly nice. Let's see if we can get it off entirely. And the seam is showing here. This front isn't quite as it should be, but this is a lot better than the smaller heel I tried previously. And the only thing that's needed here is to shape it a bit after taking it off the mold, so you can even anything that doesn't look quite right and straighten the heel. It seems to bend a little when you remove it, but this looks quite usable as it is. No need to cover it anything, and that's the main thing I want to ensure, because I want this color for the heel. I don't want to cover this with anything. And the main problem I have with this heels made of modeling clay is that it all needs to be just right before baking. If you cut anything after baking, the cut surface, it looks different from the rest of the surface. So basically the only parts you can cut after baking is the bottom and the top. and it's actually a good thing if you need to cut a bit from the top before using the heel, because the cut surface works better with glue than the surface as it is after baking. But here I have one heel, and now I just need to make another one, and actually I'm going to make several of these at the same time because there's plenty of room in the oven.